Hey y'all, this is going to be a quick one, in part because this is a shorter war for me. I only had 5 fights, and in part because it seems no matter how much space I make sure I have clear on my iPad, no matter how many times I check that I'm recording, sometimes it just doesn't work for me. So I'm going to briefly describe the first couple fights that I had, which were both on Path 7. I had Blade on that new Conflictor node, and then Longshot on Vivified. So you see that I do have my rank 4 Apocalypse here, as well as Cable, which means that for Blade, I started with Apocalypse, who turns off Conflictor and 4 genetic code. So, annoyingly, on top of the node having power efficiency, I think Blade literally threw one special the entire fight. He was just absurdly passive. But that was okay because I had Apocalypse at 4 genetic code. 2 special ones killed him with almost nothing else going on. So, very simple fight there. And then for Longshot, I did take some brute force damage just because you want to bait out his special ones. Because Reed is keeping control of him for the most part, like you're not just going to randomly send him into Pure of Heart by dexing back and him nullifying all of your dex buffs because of the Defiance tag. Like, you could theoretically push him to the special too, and it shouldn't be nearly as dangerous as it is for most champions. But just in case I hit him enough times while he wasn't stunned to send him into Pure of Heart, and then he transferred bad karma to me, which is where the danger starts coming in on the special 2, I was just baiting the special 1, and so I did lose a bit to brute force, but it was still fairly quick with Reed. I think I baited about 5 special 1s before we just hit him enough that he fell over. So very safe fight there. And then we have this rank 4 Stryfe on Power Snack. So 2 nodes in a row with rank 4s I've never seen here before. I imagine this placement has actually done decently for them this season, because you have to play around his invisibility. If you don't bring a Defiance champion, you have to play around the global. You can get backed up. Stryfe has significant block penetration. If he triggers Power Snack, then he's going to throw even more special ones, and there's going to be more invisibility. It does make sense, especially with Torch Band, right? But the thing is that with basically any Defiance character, this shouldn't be that bad. Basically, you're just not punishing his special 1, and you're watching when he gets to 5 telepathic charges, because that's what can trigger the special, or the invisibility, just the same as the special 1 on glancing. So we have to watch here. We know that it may trigger. So stick to 1 hit, heavies are fine, it glances, he does not go invisible, and then I get caught off guard by something in his combo and take a couple hits. No big. We are fully ramped. He's only gained 2 bars of power. We're already reversing backup recovery, doing a ton of damage from reversing willpower. You can tell this is a very safe fight. I would be north of 90%, even with the block penetration, if I hadn't eaten those couple hits. And of course, we have to deal with less invisibility than any other Defiance character because Reed has access to those suppression debuffs, which is why I just like him so much on this node and in general relative to the other Defiance characters. Because there are a lot of really good ones, there are some fights that Reed isn't great for, but if you can really leverage all 3 of his debuffs, then he's just turbocharged this season. So same basic idea on this Apocalypse. EMP Modification is a very popular placement for him, with good reason. Bubble Shield is dangerous for Apocalypse. If he throws specials when you're at the wrong count, you can have a real problem. It's hard to hold on to power because of Burden of Might. And on top of that, you have to contend with the shocks that happen if you gain buffs. Unless, of course, you use a Defiance champion. Now, most Defiance champions are not great counters to Apocalypse and still have to deal with his specials, but going back to what we were just saying, If Reed can properly leverage his suppression debuffs, he just doesn't have to deal with as many specials as basically anybody else. Now, I have to admit, I had just come back from going out with some friends, and so I don't want to blame the inputs for this one. I think I may have been not quite at 100% with my own reflexes on some of these blocks and then re-parries or blocks and then heavies instead of them just being parries, and so I've taken a little bit extra block damage that way. I'm not concerned about it because the important part is that I have still played around Bubble Shield. I made sure that I was ready as he got to 10 of those charges to dex a basic hit, see the unblockable call out, and then go back to my game plan. But essentially, we're just trying to ramp him there as normal, make sure he doesn't throw as many specials. He's a big boy, we take some block damage, but it's just not that dangerous. Then we have this thing here. The idea here is just don't back up that often, because if you back up too many times, he'll regen. If he regens enough, he will eventually go unblockable. Which makes Thing a solid placement, because you often have to play around his rock stacks. You generally have to dash back more than once when you are evading his unblockable special 1. Totally makes sense here. But we have Cable with Apocalypse on the team and the debuff Siphoner pre-fights from Reed, so his degens are going to do more work. And he's just gonna melt. Like, this is no recoil, could be boosted heavier. He does trigger that regen, but notice that it doesn't even show up. We go for the special 2 here because we still have the power start active from the Apocalypse fight. And notice that that puts this 90% concussion on Thing. And so we don't even have to worry about him getting to 15 rock stacks once. We did throw 9 heavies. So normally, that's 18 hits. Normally we would have had to try and play around Thing's rock stacks a single time. But because we had access to that special 2 and got the concussion up, we didn't have to think at all. We just threw 9 heavies and he died. I think that's the first time I've actually brought Cable to an in-season war. I've assigned him plenty of times, but man, it's just kind of fun reminding myself what an absolute monster he is with that synergy. So this war has not actually finished as of this recording. There are a few fights left, so I'm not going to declare a victor, but we are feeling pretty good about it. Knock on wood for a second. And so, yeah, we're in a great spot this season, hoping to continue to tighten up. Although that said, we're in a really good spot this war, so hopefully we can just close this out, and this will be very much what we've been aiming for. So until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.